Hello my gorgeous makeup loving friends, I hope you are having a fantastic day and a great start to your weekend. My name is Teresa and I love all things makeup, beauty and skincare. So on the weekends I like to hang out with you guys and talk about the newest releases that are somewhat interesting to us. And to do that, you guys are so fantastic and tag me in new content. So a massive thank you to everybody who has tagged me. Your names are being displayed right now. Seriously, there'd be no episode without you. But also a massive thank you to my YouTube community members. I mean, you're fantastic. I need to schedule a YouTube live with you guys to just hang out and give you general updates and maybe a little bit of cash content, because why not? It's gratuitous. I do have like one very little announcement in that I got contacted today, weirdly, by Sigma Beauty. Yeah, you know Sigma Beauty? And they basically said, yeah, we want to put you on a PR list and we want you to be an affiliate. And I was like, excuse me? So apparently I am now an affiliate. So that means that you can use my code Mulhern. I love it. They gave me my last name as my affiliate code, and that'll get you 15% off and I'll earn a 10% commission if you decide to buy anything through Sigma Beauty, etc, etc. But I was quite excited about that because I've been using Sigma for years, so I'm like, oh my goodness. Very, very interesting. But my gorgeous friends, there's quite a few pieces of new makeup and beauty, etc. to talk about because I wasn't here last week. I was at a wedding celebrating love. Ugh, it was the whole thing. But we have to remember to hydrate. Make sure to grab your tea, your coffee, your juice, your water, any other sort of beverage. I'm not going to judge, and we'll dive straight into it. This is Beauty Moon Cosmetics and they have released their collaboration with Pigletgc, who is amazing over on Instagram. He does the most interesting, really ornate looks. His actual name is Philip Alexander Gibson Chivers or Chivers. I haven't even figured out which one it is, but he's extremely talented. The Gospel collection is available right now. You have the Gospel palette, which is £28. Beauty Moon managed to make very good quality cosmetics at a very low price. Don't know how they do it. It's £28, 12 mattes, 4 shifty shimmers, but they also have 6 different iridescent highlighters. They're £8.50 each. They come in the shades Worship, Fifth Day, Diablo, Saint, Sinner and Eden. There's also these absolutely gorgeous earrings for £8, or you could get the highlighter bundle for £46, which includes all 6 of them, or if you're greedy, you can get the whole collection with the palette, the 6 highlighters, the pair of earrings for £75, which is quite the bargain. Just as an FYI, Beauty Moon Cosmetics is a UK-based indie brand. They're cruelty-free and vegan. Let's talk about the eyeshadow palette first. I love how bright and colourful this is, and I wasn't really surprised to see this when I saw the sort of makeup that he does. It's very, I mean, almost close to rave makeup. I absolutely love it. I think it's so cool. So this sort of colour story is really, really interesting, and to the best of my knowledge, this is the first time that Beauty Moon Cosmetics have done a collaboration with somebody, and I think that this was a very, very smart collab for them. His Instagram is just very like witty, and he's like, oh, saving you from makeup sin, etc. And he's just really, really, really talented. Like, it's nuts. And he's never shied away from colour, so this makes a huge amount of sense. Now, I do feel like when I'm looking at this that possibly the reds are a little bit too similar to each other when I'm looking at them in the pan. Like the shades Up the Woman, Upstart Crow and Vicious, when you're looking at them initially, seem quite similar. By the way, can I just point out the names of the shadows? I absolutely love them. I think they're so cool. I see a lot of the references there to some very cool media and general cultural icons. But even though the reds look kind of similar in the pan, when I saw the swatches, I can kind of see how they're a little bit distinct. Although weirdly on the swatches that are over on the website, they've only 2 of the reds swatched and there are 3, so I'm a little bit like, I wonder about that. One has like a little bit more shimmer in it and one is like a more true matte. I love how this is kind of ravey. There's like little neon-y pigments. Now, you can almost see in the swatches that the neons are quite dry. That is to be expected. Neons generally, when they're formulated, have a very dry, almost dusty sort of a pigment. So when you're putting on those sort of shadows, make sure to put your dark shades on first and then finish up with those, because otherwise you're just going to get a horrible patchy mess and it ain't going to work. Those shifty shades look really, really pretty. Like even the pinky purpley section, you could almost make that into like a little quad. It's so pretty. I feel like they did this really, really well. That was the first thing that I saw as part of the collection. But there's also these 6 highlighters and they're super interesting. You can, as I said, get them for £8.50 each if you just like one particular shade. They all have these really interesting shifts. Now, you know what I'm going to say here. It's grand to see them swatched on the hand because it gives you an idea of the reflect. I want to see these on the cheeks, on the face, because that's how you're actually going to wear them. I want to see how much of like a cast these are giving, but they look So, so beautiful. If I was going to get one, I'd probably go with the shade Saint, simply because that sort of a shade works well on me because I am warmed up death, essentially. I also like the idea of Fifth Day. I kind of almost wish it was like a little bit paler because I'm greedy and I feel like a paler blue would look really, really, really interesting on me. I think these look very, very nice. Again, I'd like to see them kind of buffed out to see just how iridescent and sparkly they are, because they do look quite nice, and £8.50, not bad at all. I want to briefly talk about the earrings. I love these. I think these are so, so cool. And for £8, I'm kind of here for it. Like, I love that sort of style. It's just a lot of fun. So in general, I think this collection is done really, really well. The price point, I mean, when you think about it, you're getting a £16 eyeshadow palette, you're getting 6 highlighters and a pair of earrings for £75. Like, that's pretty good. And do I feel like this is the sort of eyeshadow palette that you need to possibly reach into other eyeshadow palettes for? Possibly, but I do think you could make a whole look out of that. A lot of people do obviously like to chop and change with the palettes that they have, and I feel like this will allow you to. My obviously one issue is that they are neon shadows, so they can be a little bit tricky to work with. That's nothing about like Beauty Moon Cosmetics. That's simply like the general formulation of those sort of pigments. And I'm not surprised that he put those in, because he's very brave, he's very bold, he just does these really cool, fun sort of makeup looks. But at the same time, anyone who's going to buy this palette, that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to know all about like how to work with neons. And I think actually for the price point, that's pretty good. I'd be really interested to see what these would look like on deeper skin tones, because neons obviously tend to look quite different. They could be a little bit more ashy on a deeper skin tone, and I think that would be very, very interesting to see. Same with the highlighters. I'd like to see them across a diversity of skin tones. I would normally give a brand a lot more like flack over not having diversity of skin tones in swatches, etc. But when you're a new brand and you're just starting off, because Beauty Moon really haven't been around for that long, and I do feel like they're trying their best and they're keeping the prices pretty low, so I totally get it. I feel like eventually they'll get to that point where there will be people that do swatches, etc. for them. Like, I'm not saying Deandra Nicole or whatever, but like people of that equivalence, to give you a general idea. But I do think this is pretty darn good, and I was quite impressed by it. The next thing, I love that I just spoke about Deandra Nicole. It seems like Deandra Nicole is like working a lot with Klarity Cosmetics these days in terms of like showing off their palettes. This is the Angry Leprechauns palette. Now, I don't love the front of the eyeshadow palette, so I'm not going to show it to you. It feels a little bit like AI generated art, and I'm personally not a fan of that. But I want to talk about the way that Deandra has actually presented this, because it looks stunning. The way that she presents palettes and general makeup products, I am always just blown away by. I think it's amazing. And they haven't given a date as to when this is coming out, but this is meant to be, I believe, one of their Halloween palettes. So I would imagine in the next week or so, we're going to have some information on this. The palette itself, I mean, it's gorgeous. 12 pans. Do I feel it's similar to a couple of other things that they have? Possibly. There's like that kind of red metallic-y shade in there that reminds me a little bit of the Apocalypse palette, which was not last year, but the year before's Halloween palette. So I feel like if you have that, you could probably, you know, step back ever so slightly. Deandra has also shown us some fabulous swatches, and she just builds them up beautifully. You know, I'm looking at those greens. Like, I know I don't need them, right? And I like Klarity Cosmetic formula. I am an affiliate with them, blah, blah, blah. There's a code for money off. I don't tend to buy from them as much these days, simply because the shipping makes my eyes water. I really, really hope that they get like a UK, European center where they can sell their stuff from, because I think they're really, really worth it. Like, they're such a good brand. I love the color story of this. Now, with Klarity Cosmetics, what you'll normally find is they're very medium to deep leaning eyeshadows. You don't tend to see a lot of lighter tone shadows. So for people who are as pale as me, it can be a little bit trickier to work with, just in the sense that you won't have as many blending out shades. Personally, I don't think that's a massive issue, because I mean, I can use other palettes for that. But this is a POC brand, brand. So it makes sense that they haven't included any lighter shades, because a lot of those lighter shades are going to look really, really ashy on deeper skin tones. So hey, I totally get it. It makes a huge amount of sense. I'm also going to show you the video of Deandra showing the swatches, because you can really get the shifts and the sparkles in that. And I gotta say, like, I kind of wish I hadn't seen that, because I am slightly salivating at that. I know for a fact that I could go through my collection, probably not so much in Klarity alone, but across a couple of different brands, and I could probably build this palette. Although that like orangey, mustardy shade, oh sweet Jesus, isn't that beautiful? Like, it's such an unusual, almost like camel-y, but a deeper camel. I'm not very good with words. I don't know why I have a YouTube channel. I'm just very silly. But I think that's a really interesting shade, and I don't see that often in an eyeshadow palette. So I'm trying to kind of talk myself out of it, because I know I don't need it. I know that in my brain, in the back of my brain, I'm like, you don't need it. But I'm also very much a Freudian id. I'm just like, I want it, I want it, I want it. So we'll see who's going to win out in that particular battle. They also have some lipsticks. Now, two of them are already existing. I believe Black Rose and Glam Shit might be the ones that exist. Anyways, they'll be available sometime soon. I really love that they have a very nice deep dark brown, almost heading into black. And of course, Deandra has also shown that on her lips. How dare she be that effing beautiful? Like, there's a reason why I don't do that many lip swatches, and it's mostly because my lips are scrawny. It's actually a little bit upsetting. I love that shade Crime Scene. I think it would look a little bit ridiculous on me, even though I love green, but I'm also very aware that I just don't have the lips to pull it off. I quite like their lip formula. Like, I have a few of their pieces already, so this does appeal to me. And I think it's smart of them to kind of re-advertise some of their existing shades along with this as well, because sometimes we can get very like caught up in, oh, this is new, I must get the new, must get the new. And sometimes you can just go for the tried and tested stuff that already exists. Like, there's no issue with that. In terms of the collection overall, I think it's really, really pretty. I'm going to say this very quickly though, and I do like Klarity Cosmetics. I obviously do. I feel like they've been doing an awful lot lately. And I know that generally cosmetics brands seem to be kind of heading in that general direction, because simultaneously we have like an overconsumption and an underconsumption trend going on. It's like two sides of the one coin. And it feels like brands are either trying to slow down their releases or they're amping them up. And I feel like Klarity might be slightly amping them up, because they've also talked about bringing back an eyeshadow palette that they used to have, but kind of like changing it up ever so slightly. So that's another new thing. And I feel like we've had quite a few new things from them even recently. Like, they had their 3 sort of mermaid palettes a couple of months ago. I bought them. I haven't even had the chance to do a swatching Sundays on it. It's so hard to keep up with all of these things. Not that I'm trying to keep up. I'll do these things when I feel like it. But I personally feel like with Klarity, I'd like to see them slow down, simply because I feel like sometimes people can get a bit worn out, and this is one of those brands that people feel like they want to collect, but if you're coming out with a lot of stuff, it's kind of hard to do that. That's my major critique of just having a lot of launches. I don't feel like it's actually impacting the quality. So there is that, but I think it's a beautiful colour story, and the lipsticks look fantastic. This next one, when I tell you, you know what I'm going to say. I feel this in the core of my bones, to the very core of my being. This is probably one of my favourite palettes that I've seen in the last couple of months. This is from Cosmic Brushes. This is their Undergrowth palette. They had changed their logo initially, and I was like, there's greens. I swear to God, if this isn't a green palette, I was going to launch myself out of the window. I could feel it in my bones. I was like, this is going to be beautiful, because anything I've got from Cosmic Brushes, the quality, you can't fault it. You just can't fault it. And the price point, I don't actually understand. Because I'm like, how do you do this and keep the quality so good? What is happening there? So I don't know what sort of tomfoolery is happening over there, but I'm going to let it slide because it results in this. So it's a 20 shade eyeshadow palette. There's 12 mattes. There's 8 metallics. Of those 8 metallics, 3 of them are shifty. There's 2 multi-chromes and 1 duochrome. So this is what I'm saying of like, how do they keep the price down? Because they've got not just mattes. Mattes are obviously cheaper to formulate, but the multi-chromes, the shifty shades, the duochromes, those are the expensive ones. This is, by the way, retailing for £28. As you're watching it, it already released. I hope you got your hands on it if you wanted to get it, but I swear, if you got it so that I couldn't get it, if you managed to get it and I didn't, I will hunt you down. She said, I say that with love. I don't actually mean it. I'm just too lazy to hunt anyone down. Plus I'm a vegetarian. It's just a terrible mix. This was available from 1 p.m. EST at £28. There's lots of codes floating around. I personally tend to use my friend Tia's code. It's TIA10, TIIA10. I'll have it down in the description box so that I suspect this is already sold out as you're watching it, but you can keep that in mind next time you might be buying anything from Cosmic Brushes. So I had a few people saying, and I think they're absolutely right, there's probably a little bit of overlap between this and the likes of the Beauty Bay Earthy palettes, the Wilderness palettes. Absolutely. I suspect there probably is. And I know that there have been some very, very mindful people kind of saying, look, I'm going to watch my spending and I'm not going to get this because I already have that. To you, I say, I salute you. Well done you on your resolve. I don't want to talk you into something that you know you won't need. But I'm an idiot, right? I sit over here kind of being like, I know I don't need it, but it looks beautiful. Like that shade Undergrowth makes me want to absolutely weep. Those shimmery shades are just so interesting. And even in the static photos, you can see just how like mesmerizing they are. And a friend of mine, Daniela, actually got this in PR and she showed me some of the swatches. And when I tell you, the urge to get on a flight, to get over there and to get to her apartment and steal it from her was immense. So frankly, I should get a medal for being such a good person. But I love this color story. The grungy shades. I feel like this would pair really nicely with my Yucca palette from Natasha Denona. I love this. And I can also see this being used as well with the nude trills that they just came out with. They've been doing a lot as well. And I know I did just say about Klarity Cosmetics that it feels like a lot, but I'm going to give Cosmic Brushes a break because I'm a hypocrite. But also because they're kind of cheaper for me to get. They're cheaper for a lot of people to get. There isn't the same kind of hassle with it. So I'm like, do you know what? I'll let it slide just this once. I just kind of can't get over that this brand hasn't had a fail. There hasn't been a palette that has come out that I've gone, not really sure. They're really interesting color stories. They're really thought out. The owner clearly understands the market extremely well. Whatever sort of market research they're doing, 10 out of 10. They're a small brand, like there isn't like a huge number of employees involved, but like the way that they're running this is exceptional. I will also say I've bought everything that they've done so far and there hasn't been a single miss in my opinion. Obviously everyone is going to have different opinions on this, but I find the customer service to be really, really excellent. They're just very fast, very efficient. So yeah, I'm going to be getting this. Like if I had to sell a kidney, I would get this. I am very excited about it. It's one of those brands I just have a whole lot of faith in. And now switching to a brand that I don't have as much faith in, this is Morphe. They've revealed their holiday drama collection. I feel like the phrase holiday drama is quite apt. We remember what they did this time last year of them closing their stores in America coming up to Christmas. What holiday drama that was. Was it last year or was it the year before? I can't even remember. My concept of time. It feels a bit like, oh, should you have named it holiday drama? That feels a little bit on the nose. Maybe that's just me. Now I've searched the internet for this to try and find info on this. So these are actually photos from glamjunkies.com. So a massive thank you to them. Fabulous. In the collection, there's the Holiday Collection Shade Thrower palette, the Crowd Pleaser palette, the Party Crasher palette, the Euphoric Rush 3-in-1 Silk, and they come in 2 separate shades. So they already have that kind of balmy texture already. I think they've like 3 or 4 shades of them. I have one of them. It's actually quite nice. They have the Compose Yourself, the Soul Matte Lip Duo, the Drip Glass Lip Duo, and the Overreaction Holographic Liquid. The Compose Yourself, by the way, is like obviously their obligatory brush bag. Let's talk about maybe the eyeshadow palette first, shall we? I mean, why not? Do you know what? I feel like they had kind of upped their formula over the last while. You know, I got a few of their 9 pan palettes and I have to say I was quite impressed, particularly when it came to the shimmers and the mattes. That being said, I'm not impressed with the way that they dealt with the closure of their stores stores yet again in the UK. They had an opportunity to kind of learn from their mistakes and treat people better, and they didn't. So I kind of have to point that out, in that it definitely colours the way that I'm looking at this, and it makes it a little bit more difficult for me to be truly objective and just look at the products as a whole. It's very difficult to do that, but I'm going to try as best as I possibly can. I feel like the palettes themselves are quite safe. You know, they're very, very usable. I can see people getting a decent amount of wear out of them. This is one of those things that you'd pop into a basket for somebody for Christmas and they'd probably get a decent amount of use out of them. They do have a good contrast between the lighter shades and the deeper shades. I couldn't find any swatches right now, although I'm going to say it right now, it wouldn't matter if I found any swatches, because if there were swatches from Morphe, they're all going to be allegedly computer generated, so you couldn't trust them, and I cannot be bothered dealing with them anymore. Weirdly, it's the little 6-pan palettes that I actually think are really cute, specifically the lavender one. I think that's actually quite nice, and the more reddishy one I'd almost look at as being like an interesting blush and or highlighter palette. So I think that's quite nice. Would I run out and get this? No, simply because, I mean, these are my feelings on Morphe at the moment. If you want to get it, that's fine. That's literally none of my business. I'm just talking about my perceptions on that, and if you like it, fantastic. I hope you get it and enjoy it. The blushes I think are quite interesting, particularly that left-hand shade, the Staying Neutral. It's hard to get a truly neutral blush, and I feel like they've done that quite well. I like the formula of this because I have one of them already, and I will say I think that's not bad at all. I like that shade. The Getting Heated one is kind of like a little bit more like standard, the sort of stuff that we would have seen in the past, but I think it's quite safe. The brushes, I mean, they're fine. There's nothing kind of wild about kind of the shapes on them that I'd be like, oh my god, I must have these. They're kind of middle of the road. I feel like maybe the lip sets are pretty nice as well. I like that shade Unbothered, the light pink with opalescent pearls. I had gotten a few of their lip glosses recently. Well, not that recently, I'd say maybe in the last year or so. One was gifted to me by my friend Daniela, and I have to say I actually really liked the formula. And the shade of these two, the Unbothered and Hot Cocoa, look absolutely stunning. I'm not as bothered about the two kind of liquid lipsticks. I do feel like they've said that wifey is a cool toned nude, but to me, maybe it's my eyes are gammy, quite possibly. It feels a little bit more warm than cool, but I have seen this over the last couple of years of people saying that something is cool toned and it's not cool toned at all. So maybe people need to go back to school and learn what cool toned is what I'm trying to say. The actual lip glosses, they look quite nice. I think that's smart for them to put that into a set. And they also then have that liquid highlighter. They say that it's an apricot gold, which I'm like, that could be quite pretty on some skin tones. Again, anytime you're ever doing something like this, I think it's a bit foolish when it's only going to be catered towards very specific skin tones. Again, I'm kind of reserving judgment because I haven't seen kind of the full reveal of that and what it would look like on the skin, but I don't know. For me, it's not a collection that I would personally get. I don't think that there's anything like wildly offensive about the way that it's curated together. I actually think it's pretty decent. You know, do I think it's changing the world of makeup? No, it's not, but I actually think it's a pretty safe bet if you were getting a gift for somebody for Christmas. This is the whole intention of this whole collection. I feel like you could get something pretty safe. The brushes are probably the least interesting bit there. I just don't think the shapes are that interesting, but the neutral lips, the lip glosses, they're pretty nice. The palettes look quite nice as well. I'm not so sure about that liquid highlighter. It's safe, essentially, as a collection. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's good. It's fine. You know, I personally wouldn't be running out and getting it, but oh my god, this is such a strange collaboration. And to be fair, e.l.f. have had the weirdest collabs recently. Do you remember when they did Liquid Death? That was wild. This time they have collaborated with Tinder, and there was nothing in the world that was going to make me think that this was ever going to happen. So there's 3 new products. I'm going to talk about the It's a Match Stick Lippies probably first. They're $4. The e.l.f. by Tinder Box Lip Trio, that's $18. Then there's the e.l.f. by Tinder Put Your e.l.f. Out There Vault, and that's $45. So I said I want to talk about the Matchstick Lippies. They're $4, and you're going to think, oh, $4, that's quite affordable. I have very immediate thoughts with this. I get why they've kind of made it like Matchsticks, Tinder, etc. Tinder Box. I understand it. I love a pun. They're fantastic. This, however, feels so incredibly wasteful to me. They've basically got these single-use lipstick matches where you use it once and then it's done. Now, I know that they're kind of saying like, haha, pop it into your handbag before you're going on your Tinder date. And I'm like, what? Who's doing this? Who's doing this? This is so wasteful. Yes, it's $4. It's not wildly expensive, but when you think about it, right? And I want you to think about it. 5 uses for $4. That's 80 cents each time you're putting on your lipstick. That's very, very expensive for what that is. And it's just foolish. I like the shade itself. I don't think it's a bad one at all. Like, that red is very, very pretty, but I just feel like this is so, so wasteful. I could also see this kind of getting loose in your bag and getting absolutely destroyed. I just think this is not a good one at all. The next thing that they have then is the Tinderbox Lip Trio. That's $18. There's 2 tingly lip oils and a red lip liner. You know my feelings on lip oils. Just call them lip glosses. I don't understand why we as a society decided to suddenly just be like, oh yes, they're lip oils, not lip glosses. It's the same damn thing. Stop trying to gaslight me into thinking that it's not that thing. I always get worried when I hear tingly lip oils and I'm like, is that necessarily what you would want on a date? Maybe it is. That feels a bit weird to me, but I'm old and I don't understand how the world works anymore. One is a warming gloss or warming lip oil and one is a cooling one. So my question is, if I take the 2 of these together and mix them, will I just have a normal temperature one? I mean, I know it's like a dad joke equivalent. I like the liner that they have with it. I think that looks quite pretty. They're obviously saying you can pair all them together and you're going to get a keepsake tin holder. Personally, I don't know. I wouldn't want to keep a keepsake tin holder. I have kept keepsake tin holders before. I never thought I would say that phrase so often with the likes of Kaleidos and their kind of clay lipstick things, but I can't really see myself keeping a tin holder for an e.l.f. Tinder collaboration because it feels very like niche. Like, I don't 100% understand it. It's grand, but I never thought I would see a Tinder collaboration of all things. I'm kind of surprised that Tinder is still going because it feels like the most unsuccessful way to meet another human being and have anything sort of viable happen. But then again, how do you actually meet people now? I don't know. I don't have the social skills for it. The last thing that they have is then essentially their full collection. It's the Put Your Elf Out There vault. So it includes that Tinderbox Lip Trio, but there's also 3 products that are exclusive to the vault. There's the All Slick No Ick Face Primer that is made to prep and hydrate skin. There's the Setuationship Setting Mist. I kind of like that little pun. And there's also a Flame Changer makeup bag. I actually think the makeup bag is quite nice. I don't know how I feel about having a very specific primer that is unique to that collection, because what if I ended up loving it and then I can't get it again? Like, is this an equivalent to something that's already there? It doesn't seem to be. I like the idea of it though. It's going to give you a dewy finish. I personally like that because I have very dry skin. I spend my day trying to hydrate and moisturize, and considering I'm in like the wettest country in the world, possibly, I don't know, I don't have the statistics for it, but it feels like it. My skin is just so dry. I wonder if there's like a correlation between that, of like the kind of wetter the area you live in and the drier your skin. I don't know, but I'm interested in that and the fact that it blends in clear. I like when a primer doesn't have like a coloured base. I also like the sound of the setting mist, but I'm kind of a bit iffy with certain ones. Like, I'm very pernickety about these things, and I found a couple of mists, like setting sprays, that I do like. I like that they're saying it's a microfine mist, so that's not bad at all, and it's going to lock your makeup for up to 16 hours of wear. All of these sound like fantastic claims. But again, I would be so annoyed because primer is something that, I don't know about you, maybe it's just me, maybe it's the way that I'm using it, but I would kind of run out of primer quicker than most other makeup items. So I'd be really annoyed if I ended up liking this and this was a exclusive or an exclusive item that I couldn't get again. Like, I'd be annoyed. I like to be relatively consistent with these things. Same with the setting mist, so I'm assuming they'll probably come out with it again. The makeup bag, cute. You know, what else can I say on that? Yeah, it's fine. I feel like the value for it isn't bad at all when you're getting the lip liner, the lip glosses, because I refuse to say lip oils, the primer, the setting spray, all of that for $45. Like, that's not bad at all. Weirdly, when I was on the site, the last 2 pieces, so the Tinderbox Lip Trio and the overall set, were still available, but the matchsticks were sold out, which makes me weep ever so slightly for humanity. I get that it's like the cheapest item, but it isn't really. it isn't. Like when you look at like cost per use, if I looked at like, say, I don't know, an Hermes lipstick that's, we'll say $90, and it's a full size lipstick, I could get maybe, we'll just say 180 applications out of that. That is still working out cheaper than that, because that's 50 cents per application. Like, in what world is it that an Hermes lipstick application is going to cost you less than an e.l.f. one? I think that one in particular really galls me. I understand why they were doing it. It was, I think, actually quite smart marketing, but it's really not great in terms of sustainable practice. The others I don't think is bad. I think they would really need to think about making the primer and the setting spray to be a continuous item if it ends up being quite good. Because I know that there were people who really liked the primer that came with their Mean Girls collection, but it was a once off and they couldn't get it again. So I'm like, lads, don't be doing that. We need something a little bit more consistent. So this one isn't for me, but I appreciate those who might enjoy it. Then I think I might actually have to get to a point where I need to stop talking about Made by Mitchell, because personally I am getting a bit, not pissed off, but just a bit like, Jesus man, like chill out. There's a lot of new releases in the last 2 weeks. I'm going to first talk about the Blursh Pressed Duo Highlighter Palette and Brush. So you can get a palette which has 2 highlighters and a brush together for £19.50. What irks me is that you can't get the palette by itself, because I personally don't like his brushes. I don't find them to be very good quality. At the moment, these seem to be just on his website. They haven't come over to Beauty Bay yet. I also checked out his website and there's no swatches on the skin, either like arm swatches or face swatches. So I'm having to go based upon the description, which is saying this: each palette features 2 stunning shades of our innovative pressed highlighter formula designed to give you a radiant glowing complexion. Our new formula offers a silky, lightweight texture that blends seamlessly into the skin, providing a buildable glow that can range from a subtle sheen to a bold, reflective finish. Now, that description sounds very, very interesting to me. I like something that's very lightweight, very buildable. It's going to depend as to how much sparkle is in this, because as I said previously, I am a dry-skinned bee. I'm 34 years old. It looks like I don't have a huge amount of texture because I engage in a frightening amount of skincare, but the minute I put on the wrong product, the texture that is caught. If this is like very, very sparkly, this is going to make me look like I'm some sort of a crypt keeper. So yeah, he's also made this very bold claim of it's perfect for all skin tones. I don't know, because there's some shades there that are very light and I just feel like they wouldn't look great on deeper skin tones, and vice versa. There's some very deep shades that would not look good on a fairer skin tone. Like, you don't have to make something that's perfect for all skin tones. That's totally fine. I think particularly when it's things like face products, they don't need to be made for everyone. You can have shades that are built for specific customers. As long as you have shades that are going to cater to as many people within the population as possible, fantastic. But that one shade doesn't have to work for everything or for everyone. I think this idea of like universal and universal shades is just the most weird idea that we seemed to kind of cling on to. So I don't feel great about that. So there's actually 10 palettes altogether. They don't seem to have any sort of a bundle deal on them if you wanted to get them all together. You know what it is that I'm going to say beyond just the lack of swatches, claiming the universal shades, etc., the inclusion of the brush. Can you guess? Can you guess? Yeah, the shape of the palette. I just, every so often this brand I get very confused about, because I'm like, who are you making this for? Because there are times where I'm like, I totally get what you're making this for. It's for a pro MUA. Totally grand. I get it. Kudos. Well done. And then there's other times where they do things like this and I'm like, this is definitely not for a pro MUA, because there's no pro MUA who's going around with bulky pans like this. That's so cumbersome and difficult to store. And even if you did depot them, the irregular shape of the pans, I cannot even cope with them. I've said this a million times before. As soon as you make like these very specific designs of pan shapes and palette shapes, it increases the cost. And this is already £19.50 per palette. So in my opinion, actually quite expensive, all things considered, because normally he keeps his prices down quite a bit. How much of that £19.50 is that, and I'm going to say it, tacky, rubbish looking brush. Sorry, I just don't like it. And how much of that price is the weird pan and palette shape, right? I suspect you could have maybe taken £1.50 off. I'm going very conservative here. We'll say we could take £1.50 off and still get a decent profit if you went and just had them be square pans. I don't know about you. Maybe it's just me. I'd be happier to A, pay less, and B, have something that I can store and actually travel with in a more user-friendly way. The shades themselves, they're somewhat interesting. I feel like they're kind of that mix between highlighters and blushes. Like some of those shades are quite interesting, but I can't really go on these descriptions of him saying like, oh, they're buildable and they'll sheer out, because it's like, I have been lied to before. Many times in my life, I have trust issues. So I would need to see this actually be applied to the skin across a diverse range of people, not just skin tones, but also skin conditions, dry, oily, etc., different age groups. I need to see that, because it feels like it is quite expensive for what it is. But maybe it's just me and I'm getting old and curmudgeonly. Then, and I said he has an awful lot of stuff. He has a lot of brow products coming out. And this is where I kind of say, what's going on with the brand? Who are you making this for? The names, I cannot even cope with it, right? There is the Brow Sludge Box. Who gave that name? For £25. The Brow Muck Texture Gel for £12. And the Brow Down Brow Holding Balm for £12. I don't know what it is. I have a very visceral response to words like sludge and muck, and maybe it's just because I have them in this frame of reference of like dirt and being unclean, but I don't really want to put that onto my face, you know? Not that I'm like a makeup artist, but like makeup artistry is all about hygiene and safety, but it's very weird to attach the word sludge and muck to these things. Very, very weird to me. So I might actually start by talking about that Brow Sludge Box. It's expensive, it's £25. However, I can kind of see where this is in terms of a kit for an MUA. This is where I'm saying kind of Made by Mitchell's brand is a bit all over the place, in that he's kind of trying to do everything all at once, and I personally get a bit overwhelmed and I'm like, who is this for? What's happening? This is, I feel, something for an MUA, but I think for the regular peeps of us who just have one shade of brow or maybe 2 or 3 shades depending upon when we're dyeing our hair, I feel like this is a little bit unnecessary. It's £10. They say that you have a selection of dark forest green, brown, light brown, purple, red, black and dark brown hued colour. Now I know obviously I'm looking at that and kind of going, who has purple brows? I actually think it's quite smart, because for a lot of people who have more kind of coloured hair, it's hard for them to get their brows to match. And obviously the way that he's doing that is so that you can mix and match your own shades, so you can engage in that little bit of makeup science. So I think that's smart for that. I think my major issue with this is that there's going to be certain shades that you're going to use way more than the others, and I think what he's going to have to do down the line, and I'm sure he will do this, is come out with some refills so that you could get more of the dark brown or black, etc., rather than having to go off and buy a brand new brow case. Now this isn't for me, obviously, A, because I'd never get use out of that diversity of tones. I'm not an MUA, are you surprised? But also I don't tend to do much with my brows. A, I have quite good brows, and B, they're hidden behind my fringe, so it's a little bit unnecessary. They also have their Brow Muck Eyebrow Texture Gel. It comes in clear, and there's brown and there's green and there's a couple of different shades. They say it's carefully crafted with high quality ingredients for high quality results. Now when I went over and had a little gawk at their website, they didn't have actually any pictures of it applied. They just showed you like the brush and the shades, etc. Now personally I'd like to see what sort of a finish it's giving. Is there any sort of like film on top? You know how sometimes some of these can like crust over and give you like white specks? I'd like to know that. Now I actually quite like the idea of a brow gel, and they do have a clear one. That's probably the one that I'd be the most interested in, because when it comes to brow products, the most I'll generally tend to do is gel them, and I feel like the price of £12 isn't bad at all. But they also have then their Brow Down Brow Holding Balm, which might be a little bit more for me, and that's just a clear base for £12. Again, I could see this working not just for an MUA but also for like the general makeup lover. I'm gonna say it, like, it's just a lot of stuff to come out with. I feel like I talk about Made by Mitchell on an almost weekly, if not fortnightly basis. And for me, I feel like that's just a little bit too much. Yes, I appreciate that he keeps his prices down. Yes, I know you are not compelled or under any sort of a contract to go and buy every single thing. I'm not saying that at all. But for me, it feels like there's just a little bit too much, and it can kind of get a bit overwhelming. And there are people who still have like a very collectionist mindset, and I'm not going to judge you. I have that to some degree. And I feel like when you're coming out with this much stuff, I don't know how big of a team they have. How are they able to do all of that product development and make sure that everything is a hit? I personally have found that there's some stuff from Made by Mitchell I quite enjoy. You know, the little paint cases, love those. I think they're brilliant. They're arguably the best thing he's done. And then there's other things that are part of his brand that I think are overpriced, overhyped, and just not worth it. His eyeshadows, I think they are appalling. I think he can step back and he doesn't need to come out with so much stuff. I get that part of this is the business model, because everyone's over on TikTok with their little TikTok shop going out and promoting these things, going, buy this and I'll make a commission, which I totally get. It is what it is, you know, respect to all the hustle there. And I feel like this is a brand that kind of somewhat monopolizes on that because their products are available via TikTok shop. But that doesn't mean that they have to do a new release every single week. It's just, in my opinion, a smidgen too much. We then have Beauté Creations, who have done a collaboration with Corpse Bride. So this is the third affordable brand that have collaborated with Corpse Bride. We had She Glam before and we had Revolution, so now it's Beauté Creations' own time. This seems to have been kind of leaked in that it was available. Some of it was available on Urban Outfitters and a couple of other sites, but this isn't officially coming to Beauté Creations' own website until the 13th. So as you're watching, it is currently available. You can get the full PR Box gift set for $110, and it features the Wiso Blue multi-use palette, the dual-ended liquid lip liners, a pH lip oil, faux lashes, according to plan contouring palette, 2 bride-to-be hair clips, the Bone Dust body and hair shimmer, a setting mist, a coffin-shaped makeup case. You can get obviously a lot of these things solo. So if, for instance, you liked the multi-use makeup palette, that's $16. The handheld mirror is $20. That pH lip oil is going to be $8, and the Haunting Spell dual-ended liquid liner is $8. There's a lot to this. I will say the packaging of this is done very, very well. I love the PR box. I think it's absolutely adorable, the fact that it's like as a coffin and you have that really cute imagery on it. There's a lot in this. Like, you could basically put together a full face. Like, you've liners, you've lip oils. I think the one thing that they're missing is like a lip liner. So I think they could have maybe included that, but obviously you could probably use your eyeliner there if you wanted to, if you were compelled. There's a setting mist. There's a whole bunch of stuff. And I feel like for $110, it isn't bad at all. Now, I will say I've bought stuff through Beauté Creations once before, their wooden pencil set, and it was fine. They were grand. But the problem was I had sought out a bundle and they sent the same lip liner twice, but one of them was missing and they refused to send it out to me. So they gave me back a partial refund, even though I'd already paid like taxes and duties. And because I'm an idiot, I was like, but that's the one that I want. That was the shade that I was the most excited about. So I had to go off and buy it again, which was ridiculous. Their customer service unfortunately leaves a little bit to be desired. So I personally wouldn't feel very comfortable recommending them. The quality seems to be okay, so there is that. I'm going to talk about that multi-use palette. I'd like to see some swatches on this because that kind of purpley lavendery shade up at the top, that looks really, really interesting. I feel like when I'm looking at this is not quite cliched, but like kind of what you would expect. And I don't know if it's that I'm getting older and the novelty of collaborations of this nature has worn off on me, but I don't feel as drawn to collaborations as I once did. I think they've become so commonplace now that I just kind of look at them and kind of go, this feels a little bit lazy. I'm not saying that this is lazy. I actually feel like they've executed this quite well, but it feels like they've engaged in a very calculated gamble reasonable, if that makes sense. Like they know they'll get a decent return on that, which is just good business sense. The palette itself, it's fine. I personally probably wouldn't get a huge amount of use out of it. I don't know what the swatches would end up looking like, but it's fine. The contour palette, it's a cream contour palette. I feel like they needed to have more than just the one variation, because this is very light leaning and it's going to omit quite a few people who have deeper skin tones. I'm kind of not that surprised by that, because Tim Burton, who obviously created The Courteous Bride, has notoriously said that his aesthetic does not include POCs, which is like, wow, a wild thing to say out loud. So almost making a palette that is just for people of a fairer skin tone is weirdly in line with that. I don't know. Anyways, it's infused with vitamin E. There's a soft matte finish. It's apparently meant to be buildable and blendable. I think it's okay. You can see that there's some more kind of contoury shades in there. They're not wildly grey leaning. I just personally feel that when you're doing something like this, you should also have deeper skin tones. In terms of the lip oil, the packaging, 10 out of 10, looks really, really pretty. Actually looks quite luxe for the price. I feel like they've done very well on that. It's the pH aspect that makes me want to tear off my skin. I am so sick of pH. I was sick when it came out 20 years ago and I am sick of it now. It's just going to end up being pink. Could we just stop it, please and thank you? Yeah, packaging gorgeous. The butterflies, the little coffin that it comes in, fabulous. But other than that, the pH thing, no thank you. The little handheld mirror, that's actually very cute. Isn't it funny how like 2 or 3 years ago we'd go bananas over Melt Cosmetics' own hand mirrors and we were like, oh my god, these are so cute. And now we've seen loads of other brands like Glamlight, etc. coming out with really, really interesting mirrors. And we even have brands like Beauty Creations actually do quite nice mirrors. I think this is actually very pretty and not bad for the price. In terms of the dual-ended eyeliner, I think that's quite nice. I'd like to see what it looks like on. So obviously there's like a black end and I'm wondering if one end is white or is it blue or what's the story there. It's a little bit confusing, but I mean, it looks grand. The Bone Dust Body and Tear Shimmer. Oh my god, never have I had such a flashback to the 2000s. When I was a teenager, you'd have that like puffy spray that you'd just poof onto yourself. And I believe it was maybe the beginnings of Twilight where we all looked like shimmering little demons. I don't know about that. And I don't know if I'd necessarily like to put something on my body whose product name is Bone Dust. It just feels a little bit iffy to me. In terms then of the lashes, I mean, they're fine. Probably a little bit too thick for me, but it goes very much with the character from Courteous Bride. She had like really, really, really thick lashes. So that makes sense with the IP. The setting spray, I'm kind of interested in that. It's an air-powered aerosol endless setting mist which delivers an even application to set all formulas for a long-lasting radiant finish. Now I like the idea of radiant finish because again I have dry skin. Kind of interesting. And they said that it's enriched with vitamins and fruit extracts. Not that at that point it's going to do that much for you because I mean you have a layer of makeup between that and your skin. It's nice. Like the packaging looks pretty. Yeah, it's fine. Like I don't have any major feelings on that. The collection overall, it's not for me. As I said, I'm kind of a little bit like over collabs at this point. Watch as like something that I absolutely adore comes out, but I just feel like it's a brand's very kind of generic way of making sure that they can get sales, which I respect. You know, you have to keep your brand alive, but for me it feels like, oh, could you not kind of come up with your own ideas or your own kind of inspiration without having to go to another IP and lean on their color stories? Maybe I'm probably being like horribly mean here, but just for me it seems a little bit like it's literally been done before. And as much as I can say this is an affordable brand, which it is, there's also been other affordable brands before. Granted, not everyone wants to buy from She Glam, not everyone wants to buy from Revolution, so I guess maybe this is your alternative. It's fine. It's very much in the middle. Then we have About Face. Now, I don't have a huge amount of information on this, but this is their new liquid blush. I'm very excited. It's meant to come out today as I'm filming, but I've checked all over their website and it isn't there. But if I've managed to find some pictures, I'm going to be including them. This is their Pump the Brakes. It's, as I said, available on About Face from the 12th, on Ulta from the 13th, and in their stores from the 6th of October. Here's the thing. I really, really like About Face. Anything that I have tried from the brand, I have genuinely very very much enjoyed. My issue is that there was a point where you could get quite a few of their bits on Beauty Bay and Cult Beauty, and then they just kind of fizzled out. I am still desperate to try their foundation. Desperate probably seems like a very strong word, but like I just feel like the price point and the formula of her stuff is really, really good, and the consistency with everything, fantastic. Those shades that I have seen so far, the pink, the purple, kind of like peaches, ooh, they are nice. Now I don't know what price they are. I'll put down on the screen what price they are when I see them. I think this is really, really good. She said something about like it being linked to Grand Prix or hotter than Grand Prix, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know what this is related to. Is it fast? Is it using a lot of fuel? Does it last a lot of laps? That might be the autistic in me, but I'm really not understanding the metaphor and the analogy there. If you do, could you let me know, because I'm a little bit lost in it. But I think so far the shades that they have shown, which, you know, they'll probably have shown more after I've filmed, because that's the way this goes, I'm interested. But as to whether or not it comes to Beauty Bay, probably won't. And it feels like Cult Beauty have gotten rid of their stuff quite a bit, and I'm annoyed, because I really like their stuff and I feel annoyed about it all. We then have Bella Beauté Bar, and there's a lot of stuff that's coming out on Friday the 13th, which, you know, unlucky for some, but lucky for others. We have the Undergrowth palette, we have that Beauty Creation stuff, but we also have this Poison Garden palette from Bella Beauté Bar. So there's 8 multichromes, 11 mattes, and 1 sequin matte, and that's available for $75 US. Now I have pictures here of swatches, by the way, from Deandra Nicole. You know the drill. She does amazing swatches, yada yada yada. But I think I might also have a video. If I have, I'll show that to you guys. I like anything that I have from Bella Beauté Bar. Again, they're another one of the brands that seems to kind of release an awful lot of stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a materialistic girl and I like the shades of these. I think particularly when I saw them swatched and seeing the kind of deep grunginess, very, very nice. What I will say is if you have any of the Glam Light, like Freddy palettes, the Nightmare on Elm Street, I feel like you could probably create a couple of the looks from that, because like there's kind of grungy grey deeper tones there, so maybe have a little look to make sure that you're not kind of duping your collection. The blues look really intense in that. Yeah, it looks really, really nice. Anything that I have from Bella Beauté Bar I do find quite interesting, but they also have some new singles, and that's the thing that I'm very, very interested in. These are 10 new hand pressed chrome eyeshadow singles. 2 of them, by the way, are re-releases. They're coming out the same time as the Poison Garden palette. So there's Pumpkin Hollow, Crypt Hollow, Ghoulish Hollow, Hex Hollow, and Eerie Hollow. Those are the holochromes. They're $17 each. There's the Book of Shadows, Evil Apothecary, and Amulet, and they're multichromes for $17 each. And there's Magic Potion and Spellcaster. They're duochromes for $14. And oh my god, looking at those swatches make me want to weep. They look absolutely so, so beautiful. And even they showed like the shades in the pan, and I was like, oh my god, you're beautiful. I want you in my life. They look fabulous. I'm also going to show you a video of some swatches of these, because you can really see the sparkles. I think out of the 2 of these releases, the palette versus the single shadows, I'd weirdly prefer the single shadows. I feel like these are a little bit more interesting. Yeah, I think this is quite pretty. Now, I haven't bought anything from them in a while, simply because I'm trying to not be quite such an idiot when it comes to my makeup purchases, but like, it's not bad at all. Then we have Anastasia Beverly Hills, and this is their mini spice palette. This I think was leaked because it was available on Belk, but it's not on there anymore, and it's not over on Anastasia Beverly Hills' own website, so I had to search for pictures. I initially got them from Makeup on Your Radar, but I always like to kind of get my own pictures so that they're slightly better quality, so that they're not screenshots, etc, etc. What can I say about this? This is apparently going to be $29, and I don't know if they've just named this spice to be like ironic, because it is the least spicy palette I've ever seen. Like the shimmery shades look fine, the model looks beautiful, but like this is the white person's idea of spice. This is like salt is a spice, you know? Where's the paprika? Where is the, you know, I've run out of spices. That's how white I am. But like where's the color that really goes with spices? Like this feels very muted. Now I will say I like Anastasia Beverly Hills' formula. Like it's so blendable, it's so buildable, they're so easy to work work with, but this color story does not inspire. It feels quite dated. Do I think that if you like this color story, you'll enjoy the formula? Yeah, you probably will, because the formula is pretty damn good. I could be totally sold on swatches down the road. Like, it looks beautiful on the eye, but mind you, she's gorgeous, so she could probably sell us a bin bag and be like, he'd be like, oh my god, it's the most glamorous bin bag ever. I don't know. Also, those shades at the very top, they don't look like they're actually true mattes. There looks like there's like a sparkly matte to them, which is grand, but I don't know how I feel about that. Just calling it spice is like the weirdest thing to me. Like, there's nothing spicy about this at all. Maybe my reaction to it is the mini spice. I don't know when this is coming out. I'm assuming this is their attempt towards a holiday collection. They're doing an awful lot of like bundles even over on Beauty Bay at the moment of kind of their current palettes, which are very, very nice. Like, their autumnal palettes are beautiful. Really, really like them. Would I necessarily use this by itself? No, I'd probably use this with other things. Do I like it enough that I would buy it? No, I don't. I feel like I wouldn't get enough use out of this, and I have enough kind of palettes in my collection that I could dupe this. So this one kind of isn't for me. I was debating whether or not I would put this in, but I'm going to put this in. Tati Westbrook did kind of do a little bit of a sneaky peek of a new Oden's Eye palette. I'm going to very, very briefly show it to you guys. I think she might have taken down the video. If she did, whatever. But it seems that we're going to get an Eternal Twilight palette. I'm not sure if it's like Eternal Twilight in the sense of being linked to the Twilight films, because you know there's like, wasn't there like Eternal in one of the titles? I don't know. I'm not a Twilight fan. But it feels like maybe the colours might be somewhat linked to it. I don't know. Anyways, I've shown you the picture. I don't want to show it for too long because I don't want to get Tati into trouble. Personally, there was a point where I really enjoyed Oden's Eye, and then I kind of went, I don't know. It felt like the colour stories were all kind of being a little bit repetitive. But I also feel like if you watch makeup for long enough, you can kind of see patterns and returns to things. So it does start to feel a little bit like, I have seen this before. A little bit of deja vu. I like Oden's Eye and what I've tried so far. I kind of personally feel at times it's a smidgen overhyped. That's just me. There's definitely palettes of theirs that I really, really enjoy, like the Hella palette. The colour story of that is perfect for me. This one looks okay. I personally wouldn't get any sort of use out of it. I like the one pop of green in there and the blues, but the rest, not so much. But I guess it's something that we'll probably talk about again down the road when it's officially released and revealed, etc. But my gorgeous friends, that's it. It's quite a long episode because I was trying to smash in 2 weeks worth of stuff consensually, but there is quite a bit of stuff. I do have my favourite comment from the video 2 weeks ago, and this is from CC Kitty Cat, and I swear to god I haven't just chosen your name because my cat's name is called CC. Maybe there was a little bit of an unconscious bias there, but who knows. You said, I agree Danessa Myricks should make her palettes permanent. Hells yes. I honest to god, if somebody wants to start a petition online to make her make the Lightworks come back and be a permanent edition, could we make that happen? Because I do not under any circumstances understand why we have the, and I'm going to say it, utter travesty that are the Groundworks palette be completely available at all times, and yet the Lightworks, no. Can I also just say, I am an idiot and I did buy the Lightworks 6. I know. Look, I'm going straight to hell. It is what it is, but I'll take you with me. I got it just the other day. I haven't filmed with it yet. I haven't done any swatches, but I am hoping that I will get the chance to do swatches with it. So keep a little eye out for tomorrow, because I'm hoping that I will have a swatching Sundays with the Lightworks 6. So you can basically hear me go, ooh, ah, and justify me spending a ridiculous amount of money that I really shouldn't have spent on a palette. But whatever, we only live once, and I'm apparently trying to take all the multi-chromes with me. But my gorgeous friends, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. Do please like, comment and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell, and do please share, because sharing is caring, except of course for STDs, in which case, just wrap it up. Don't be gross. But that's it. That's the end of the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.